Every miraculous ship is rushed as hell or just has bad pacing whether you wanna admit it or not. I got this video idea from a musty Reddit ho saying Polygamy is the most rushed ship in miraculous history, meanwhile they had Lino as their flair. The jokes write themselves. I don't know, it's so funny to me, it's like everyone forgets Polygamy is not the only rushed ship in miraculous, yet you will only see this kind of criticism for them and them only. Do y'all act obtuse on purpose? Because no way you said this with a straight face while shipping Alia and Nino. So today I'm here to prove to you that there are more rushed ships than Polygamy that make way less sense too, so half defending Polygamy's pacing and half coming for the other terribly paced ships too, because no one talks about their pacing. It's time to address the miraculous writer's incapability of writing couples relationships with realistic pacing, because apparently it always gotta be either they meet and are in a relationship 10 minutes later, or they meet and get together 8 years later with next to zero development in the meantime. So yes, there are worse paced ships than Polygamy, and we'll look at all canon ships one by one to see if we can find any with decent pacing. Like, if you think about it, every canon ship in Miraculous has had terrible pacing. Spoiler, they all happened in the span of an hour except for one that's a whole different category on its own. We'll talk about that one at the end once we're done with the fast-paced ones, because I have a lot to say and I know it'll piss a lot of people off, but it has to be said. I will be excluding non-confirmed ships like Rose and Julika or Mark and Nathaniel. Notice the pattern? It's all the gays that aren't confirmed dating. Anyway, since we don't know if they're actually dating canonically or how long it took for them to get together since they met, because they are never the focus, I can't really talk about bad pacing for them, because there's no material. We only know that Rose and Julika have known each other for at least a year before Origins, but no details of what's going on between them. As for Mark and Nathaniel, we know Nathaniel didn't like him at first because of that misunderstanding, and they're together all the time pretty much after that, like you can't have one without the other being mentioned. And it looks like they were having a moment in representation before Marinette interrupted them, but I don't know. Too bad the writers are pussies and will never confirm though. The Miraculous wiki says they became boyfriends after Mark got akumatized, but the wiki people are not the writers, we do not trust them. But if they are actually dating, that makes them rushed as hell too, because it literally took a few hours. Damn, y'all were beefing the second this black hair twink showed up in class, and then you thought he was tricking your red hair twink ass, so you pulled out your Glock? Y'all not even friends, you jumped straight to dating. Low-key real, to be honest. The very first ship that became canon in Miraculous, Ivon x Milen. Since we saw Marinette's 8th grade class in the derision flashbacks and see they're not there, I'm assuming they met in 9th grade? We don't know if they knew each other before this, so that's not helping. So from what we are shown on the first day of school, this guy wants to confess to Milen. Well, he wastes no time, I guess. This is taken from their ship wiki page because I'm lazy. Ivon was too shy about telling her his feelings since Milen is very timid and is worried that she is afraid of him, making it hard for him to approach her. Kim teasing Ivon about his crush and Milen dashing away from Ivon after being scared by his loud serenade causes him to be akumatized into Stanaher 2 times, where the second time had him kidnapping Milen so they can always be together. In order to make Stanaher drop his akumatized object, Ladybug gets Milen to accidentally kiss the stone-themed villain. After Ladybug convinces Ivon to let Milen read his song, Milen explains that the reason she couldn't understand it and had ran off like she did earlier was because he was shouting. So Ivon apologizes and vows that he'll sing softer. In response, and to Ivon's own surprise, Milen hugs him, which causes him to blush. And that's how they started dating. Oh, that's not okay. First of all, not the kidnapping. It's only bad when Felix does it, am I right? And with him it was to get Kagami away from her abuser, unlike this guy who did this for shits and giggles. Help. It's not really made clear if Milen likes him back, to be honest. Like she's scared of the Antichrist metalhead and runs off. Mind you, they got together in the same day too. Didn't even get to know each other first or anything? Were they even friends? No. Like, I think Milen just got with him because she felt bad. Charity Queen. Next, Alia x Nino. Staying in Season 1. Animan, pioneer of rushed ships. Okay, so even though I was sure I had to rewatch this one just to make sure it happened exactly how I remember, and it did. So Nino has a crush on Marinette and Adrien invites her and Alia to the zoo to hang out. Alia and Adrien both stand Nino and Marinette up and don't even show up to hang out, but they quote-unquote help their friend through an earpiece. But that leads to Nino getting nervous on the topic of crushes and says he's in love with Alia, which Alia loud and clear reacts to saying she sees him as a brother. And Nino makes it clear he never wanted Alia either. Keep that in mind. After the Akuma attack that got them locked in a cage, which, mind you, lasted like 10 minutes, In real life probably no more than hour until it was defeated. They're dating out of nowhere. Okay, you were just saying you see him as a brother less than an hour ago. And then you get the polygamy aunties talking shit about them being incest because Felix called Red Moon's sister out of endearment because he was literally about to kill her, so now every centi must be his sibling. But Alia saying she actually sees Nino as a brother and them kissing a few minutes later is not weird to anyone? Alright. Just saying you have no right to talk shit about polygamy and say the most brain-dead shit about it being incest and say you ship a lino in the same sentence. Like baby, that's your twin. Your ship was even more rushed than polygamy, but you don't like to talk about that. You can unclench and admit it, baby, it's okay. Anyways, it really makes no sense for them to get together in the span of 10 minutes with zero feelings for each other before this. Meanwhile, they saw each other as siblings. Like all this happened because Nino got nervous when Marinette asked him who he's in love with and he almost said you but saved it with your best friend. Like if he never said that, then what? Would he still be having unrequited feelings for Marinette 4 seasons later? They really did not give a fuck to take their time with this ship. They really shoved them in a cage metaphorically and literally and said now you're dating. Kim x Ondine. Kim Dean? What's their ship name? Okay, this ship is actually embarrassing because this dude does not want her at all. Like the first time we saw them, they were at the swimming pool playing their little secrets game. Ondine tries to confess. His stupid ass doesn't get it and keeps talking about Chloe. Ondine gets akumatized and tries to kiss him to turn him into a mermaid or some shit. She gets decumatized and suddenly he wants to go to the movies with her. A few seasons later in Season 5 Derision, Kim clearly does not want her because a whole ass year after the whole Chloe thing happened and almost a year after Chloe humiliated his ass in Dark Cupid, he still talks about her to his actual girlfriend like he wants her. As if they're not dating? What the hell is up with that? And this girl just ignores this walking red flag? She must be seeing pink instead because what the fuck? You man calls another girl the prettiest and smartest girl in the world loud and proud in front of you after months of you two dating and you stay with him? Don't piss me off. Anyways, toxic or not, what matters is they literally got together in one episode. And he didn't even want her? Like what is this, honey? Actually this ship might need its own category. Not rushed. Not slow as fuck. Just what the fuck? They're dating but it's like they're not. When I said I wanted messy situationships in Miraculous, this is not what I meant. You can't even tell if Kim knows Ondine is supposed to be his girlfriend either because he's written to have negative IQ. Y'all couldn't let them take their time? Adrien x Kagami. Or Adrigami. Okay, so this is another case of unrequited love but with a twist. I need to talk about the absurdity of this ship in its own video because there is so much implied and left floating in the air in Season 5 especially. Their pacing compared to other ships wasn't that bad. But the problem is Adrien did not want her ass at all, OMG. Like he just thought she was pretty but that's it. He was not interested in a relationship with her even if Ladybug wasn't in the picture. The problem with their development isn't the pacing itself. Not that it was too rushed or anything. It's the way it's all being retconned in Season 5. That ruins it for me in a way because the hell you mean? Perfection cocks for perfection just like we intended? I'm surprised nobody is talking about Season 5 Adrigami and how it's trying to change their entire story through their parents saying ominous shit like perfection dating perfection just like we created them. Girl, Emily did not create your son to date Kagami, be serious. That also retcons Emily completely because that's not who we've been shown she is. Was it just Gabriel being delusional and putting words in Emily's mouth? Because whatever happened to her little prince making her own decisions? We'll talk about this mess more in my next video, trust. This ship was a lost cause from the beginning, sorry. Like what a way to waste Kagami's time and mine. Also love how their relationship lasted for one day. Y'all are not serious, LMAO. Lucanet. Just like Adrigami, complete coincidence they lasted for. Checks notes. One day. Less than a day actually. And Marinette forgot she was dating him too. This was so embarrassing. Like girl, imagine forgetting your boyfriend's name? Normally I would feel bad for Luka but I kinda don't give a fuck. No, because unlike Adrien's plain admiration for Kagami but zero romantic feelings, Marinette actually liked Luka. Maybe not at the same scale her feelings were for Adrien but she still liked him. As much as I hate to admit I think they had the best pacing out of all these couples. Like they had their talking stage even if it turns out Luka didn't know shit about Marinette after all. They were messy but realistic. And even if they didn't last because they were not meant to be, they at least took their time before dating, unlike a lot of the fads in this video. Felix x Kagami, the ship that started this whole discussion. As a Philogamy fan in a very anti-Philogamy fandom, I can confirm I lose a million brain cells every time some brain-dead ass bitch on Twitter or Reddit says Philogamy is the most rushed forced ship in Miraculous and that it makes zero sense. I've defended them before and I'll do it again because the amount of misinformation about them that comes from misinterpretations that people think are somehow canon is insane. Apparently this ship is illegal because they're siblings. Next person who says this unironically and with their full chest, I'll put your ass in a blender. I'm so serious. It's hell for us Philogamy stands in a world full of stupid takes from people who haven't even seen the show or saw it with earplugs and blindfolds on and think their hot takes are the shit. Well, yes, they're shit, that's for sure. Anyway, since we're focusing on pacing, you already know they were rushed, there's no denying that. But forced? No baby, this autistic duo was meant to be together. Sorry, rushed does not mean forced. Like, it's so funny when people who think the writing in Miraculous is actually good or decent complain about Philogamy being rushed. No shit, 90% of the ships are? Why are you surprised? Also, let me ask you real quick, where do you think the screen time these two could have been given to develop organically and at a realistic pace went to instead? Closed dictatorship arc. So really it's all a mess. It sucks that they didn't give a fuck about developing Philogamy in front of our eyes and give them more than 2 episodes but went all out with 3 whole episodes making Chloe look like Kim Jong-un's offspring. Their writing was very quick and half-assed just like everything in Miraculous, but unlike a lot of other ships they actually make sense given their experiences and backstory. Would they be better off building a friendship first and having Felix tell her about her senti identity and eventually date instead of this? Well, yes, the material was all there too. So much to work with for these two, and you'll see what I'm talking about if you look at the Philogamy tag on AO3. So many amazing fanfics that explore their character. That's why it's crazy to me that people say they make no sense. The lore we already have on them is utilized so disturbingly well in these fanfics it almost makes me forget they're one of the most hated ships. Anyways, justice for Philogamy. I feel like the reason no one talks about how rushed the side ships in this show are is because this next one I'm going to talk about is always the focus and overshadows everyone else. Guess which one I'm talking about? The notorious Love Square. Well, technically 4 ships but same people. I'm fearing for my life actually, so I'll watch my words for this one because I know their fans are crazy as fuck. Mind you, I used to be one of them. Any tongue that would rise against Adrien, I'd make sure it fell. My embarrassing era, OMG. Thank God I was not one of those. I hate Luka and Kagami because they're getting in the way of my ship, bitches. Those were the worst, you could not take them anywhere. Adrien in particular is the Love Square ship that we knew from the start was endgame and the ship that we waited 8 years to happen. The so-called slow burn excellence by the fandom. Well, I see the slow part, but is the burn in the room with us? The problem is with this ship is obviously the zero progression it had for the first 7 years of the show airing. We're talking 4 seasons. It was static. Nobody was moving. The stands were starving and any Adrien interaction, even the tiniest crumbs, was like giving crack to a toddler. Then we get season 5 and suddenly Adrien thinks back to the time Marinette ripped out his hair and sniffed him and did a whole cringe-ass monologue in the wax statue museum where cameras were watching. And he's now gaslighting himself to like that instead of being grossed out like he was when it actually happened. Like, do they think we're all stupid? Ain't no way you're retconning Adrien's reaction to Marinette being creepy as shit with his quote-unquote wax statue at that museum as if we didn't see he was embarrassed and grossed out as fuck. Like, how would have that ended if it was actually the wax statue and not him? Like, if I was monitoring those cameras at the museum I would have blasted her ass on live television. I'm so sorry. Baby, I know you're 14 and stupid because all 14-year-olds are stupid, but please don't embarrass yourself like this. Like, anyone could walk in that room any moment and catch you doing whatever that was. But anyways, like I said, there was no burn until mid-season 5. And don't forget the failed random-ass Love Square flip for those 3 or 4 episodes. That was pure fan service that they completely forgot about afterwards, especially when they set up the whole Gabriel and Maricha thing in Elation. Did this man forget he was supposed to be targeting them? Well, let's just say he was targeting Marinette but not for her love for Chat Noir. So, I plan on doing a full analysis on the failed Love Square flip though, so I won't say too much now. I think The Puppeteer 2 was the first time I considered unstanning Adrien because what the fuck? Like, genuinely, what was the thought process? but I took a deep breath and continued hanging on by a thread on the Adrienne train until MR Pigeon 72 when I just lost it. Like girl, I'm done, I don't even ship y'all no more. Girl, we don't talk about how annoying Marinette was in that episode enough. What the hell was she doing trying to get Kagami back with her ex? But if we try to get you back with Luka, we're the bad guys? Girl, bye. And after seeing how toxic they've become after the season 5 finale with the whole mountain of secrets she's trying to hide from Adrien, it's getting harder and harder to defend them. So as if waiting for 10 million years for them to get together wasn't enough, they had to destroy them for good. Like damn, Adrien was never a thing, so I got nothing to talk about, and to be honest they were always the most irrelevant part of the love square, we all know this. Zero fans OMG. Mary Chad on the other hand, their stans are the reason there's a tradition to have one Marichat Ice Cream Man episode every single season. Lady Noir, don't even get me started. They're a mess OMG. But back to Adrienne, the main enemy. Y'all really wasted 8 years of my life for nothing. This is not slow burn, it's just slow. And then in season 5 a sudden switch up on Adrien's part that the writers pulled out of his ass because apparently he loved when she tried to kiss him thinking he was a wax statue. Oh? But Dan, he actually liked Marinette because she let him open up and listened when he told her he didn't want to do modeling and travel and strike back. See, then I would have taken this switch seriously, but they just had to ruin it by retconning his reaction in Puppeteer 2. Y'all are so unserious. As much as I loved Adrienne in my childhood, hashtag Adrienne shooter for real. As a grown bitch now I have to say they were not all that. Zero development or progression for 90% of the show's runtime. Filler episodes with repetitive recycled ass storylines. Same shit over and over, and it's just Marinette trying to get this flop to notice her. Fails and her friends cheer her up. Tomato tomato. I know I said I gotta watch my words for this one because their fans do not play, but I kinda don't give a fuck, they need to be humbled. Hashtag Adrienne is not slow burn excellence, it's just slow as fuck. It's like watching paint dry, but it doesn't dry until 50 years later and it's 10 minutes before you die. I think that's the best analogy I've ever come up with. OMG, where are my flowers? So the deal with the Adrienne case is that their pacing is messed up. It goes from 0 in the first 4 seasons to 100 in season 5. And the what put ass tropes with the 2 grown people trying to break them apart because elitism? Hashtag forbidden romance for no reason at all? I'm crying, this show is a nightmare. What did we learn from this video? The only ships with decent pacing in this show are the gay ones. Also, Adrienne is the equivalent of watching paint drying, but the paint is 50 pounds and in a bucket. That's all for today's stream loop by Eve.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry, what have I done? I'm so sorry!
I can't feel my
Oh
kid.
crap, the tigers seem like to be, guys. I have bad nerves, I'm so sorry. Feel better, okay?